Hello, once again, welcome to the Security Update, which we often look at issues concerning security in the continent from west to east, and these are the stories making the headlines. Somalia Regional State Minister shot dead in Mogadishu. Somalia uploaded death of Islamic State group leader. Mali justifies ties with Russia, opposes options for UN forces. Islamist rebels kill at least 15 in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Welcome to the program. Galmudug State of Somalia confirmed the death of Farhiya Abdi Wasuge, the State Minister of Transport and Aviation, who was shot dead in Mogadishu by unidentified gunmen armed with pistols. However, the regional administration blamed Al-Shabaab for her assassination. Somalia's Galmudug State Minister for Transport and Aviation Farhiya Abdi Wasuge was shot dead in Mogadishu on Saturday evening. The regional administration confirmed her death to the public. According to initial reports, the state minister was at Warta when unidentified gunmen armed with pistols attacked her. The president of Galmudug State, Ahmed Abdikariya Qorqor, has sent a condolence message to the family, friends and Somali community for the loss of Farhiya Abdi Wasuge, which the Galmudug State House believes Al-Shabaab was behind the murder. She was among the new cabinet. President Qorqor was appointed recently as he picked her for the State Minister of Transport and Aviation. Other notable figures, including traditional elders and businessmen, were killed in Mogadishu in the last few years. Most of them, Al-Shabaab claimed the responsibility of the assassinations. Somalia has welcomed the killing of al-Sudani, who was the Islamic State group leader in Somalia, with 10 other operatives, as Pentagon announced. Somalia stated the operation was positive and welcome news. The federal government of Somalia has welcomed the death of Bilal al-Sudani, who was the Islamic State group leader in Somalia and was killed on Wednesday, but his death announcement emerged on Friday by the U.S. government. The government said it is a very positive and welcoming news, while underlining that the Islamic State group is not the major threat to Somalia as Al-Shabaab. However, the government supported the killing of any individual who is a member of a terrorist group and poses threats to the public. The U.S. operation targeted al-Sudani, an important Islamic State financial facilitator, and took place in the El Meskat Mountains in a remote cave complex in Palu region of Somalia's Bulani state. Pentagon officials said 10 other terrorist operatives were also killed in the operation and no civilians were injured or killed in the operation. U.S. officials said the U.S. forces had intended to capture al-Sudani and other associates, but that attempt failed. Somalia President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud meets with U.S. representative to the United Nations Ambassador Linda Thomas during her visit to Mogadishu, where they discussed important points including security, arms embargo against Somalia, humanitarian emergency, and the need to diversity international donor support to prevent famine and save lives.
The President of the Federal Republic of Somalia, Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, held a meeting with the United States Ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas Greenfield, during her visit to Mogadishu, Somalia. The President shared with Ambassador Linda the achievements of the Somali forces in the fights against Al-Shabaab and the liberation of the areas, and praised the United States for the great help they are giving in the fight against Al-Shabaab, and pointed out the threat posed by Al-Shabaab in the region. President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud noted the challenge posed by the arms embargo on Somalia to rebuilding the military and accelerating the eradication of Al-Shabaab, and he hoped Ambassador Linda Thomas would support the Somali government's plan to suspend the arms embargo and be part of the campaign of Somalia in the United Nations Security Council. On her part, Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield, U.S. representative to the United Nations, expressed support for President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud's effort to foster reconciliation and advance the political, economical, and security reforms necessary for Somalia's lasting stability. Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield also reaffirmed the U.S. commitment to supporting Somalia-led counter-terrorism efforts and discussed with the President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud the ongoing humanitarian emergency and the need for the diversity international donor support to prevent famine and save lives. I'm Abdurrahman, CPA.
At least 250 bank accounts and 70 mobile money transfers have been closed down in Somalia over links to Al-Shabaab group. Prime Minister Hamse reported in just a few months after the country started the implementation of tough measures against the financial institutions supporting Al-Shabaab.
At least 250 bank accounts and 70 mobile money transfers have been closed down in Somalia over links to Al-Shabaab group. Prime Minister Hamse reported in just a few months after the country started the implementation of tough measures against the financial institutions supporting Al-Shabaab. Somalia Prime Minister, elaborating more on how they seized the account, said that mobile phones were distributed to the Somali people and instructed if Al-Shabaab called them and told them to send money by force to immediately contact the government to obtain and close the accounts. Prime Minister Hamse reported that the money in the bank will remain in its place until the next order of investigation comes, describing this as a great success to Somalia. However, President Sheikh Mahmoud has declared war on financial institutions linked to Al-Shabaab, putting on notice social media accounts and news sites that promote the group's agenda as part of the new strategy to cripple the linked militants across the country. Hana Abdurrahman, CBA.
Somalia military court has sentenced 3 traditional elders to 5 years in prison for making an agreement with the Al-Shabaab group in an Haradere district of Mudug region. But we will be back after the short break.
Making documentaries is one of the most creative, craft and challenging endeavors you can be involved in. It is an effective strategy to inform, persuade, educate, defend the perspective and shed light on various issues, policies and activities. At CBA TV, documentary production is our forte. We capture every TikTok detail of events in highest resolution to tell the story you care about, from politics to human hunger, research-based content, educative and informative. We also help you project your story in a dynamic perspective that attracts the world views of the target audience, as there is no better or more powerful way to place the organization's values and achievements than to make an excellent documentary film. No doubt, our strength lies in these ventures, and we pride in many award-winning documentaries which have been earning accolades across Africa and beyond. Let's tell your story.
Somalia military court has sentenced 3 traditional elders to 5 years in prison for making an agreement with the Al-Shabaab group in an Haradere district of Mudug region.
The Somalia Armed Force Court has sentenced 3 traditional elders to 5 years in prison for making an agreement with Al-Shabaab in Haradere district of Mudug region at the end of 2022. The 3 elders, including Sugal Warsame Ali, Ali Yare Ahmed Ali, and Umar Mohammed Shmale, who had been in the Haradere district for close to a month negotiating the release of their clan members held in Al-Shabaab's captivity and denounced the anti-Al-Shabaab war. Before their arrest, they stated at a press conference in Ado that they had signed 8-point agreement with Al-Shabaab. One of the points in the agreement was that the elders opposed the Somali government's military offensives against Al-Shabaab in Galmudug region. These elders defended their meeting with Al-Shabaab by claiming to organize the release of 70 Al-Shabaab captives and discussed the targeting of Haji Saleman clan member. The elders denied any alliance with Al-Shabaab, stating that they were working to free their scholars, which the government should have done. Galmudug Ministry of Security said that his administration has a zero-tolerance policy for cooperating with Al-Shabaab, and he also issued a brief statement warning anyone who deals with the Al-Shabaab will be held accountable just as the elders. Hanan Abdurrahman, CBA.
Mali's foreign minister has again defended the military government's cooperation with Russia despite condemnations from several countries, including France. Mali has been facing surging insecurity largely driven by the violent insurgency groups.
Mali's foreign minister Abdoulaye Diop has defended the military government cooperation with Russia and rejected 3 options proposed by the United Nations chief to reconfigure the United Nations peacekeeping force in the West African country where violent groups are driving insecurity. Abdoulaye Diop told the United Nations Security Council that security is the country's top priority and Mali will not continue to justify its partnership with Russia, which is providing training and equipment to the military. The Malian top official did not mention Russia's Wagner Group the private military contractor with ties to the Kremlin. However, the internal review of the 17,500-person United Nations mission, MINUSMA, published this week by Secretary General Antonio Guterres, noted that Mali's long-standing security partnership with France and others deteriorated over concerns about Wagner Group personnel supporting the Malian armed forces, which he claimed Russian officials have publicly acknowledged. Since 2012, Mali has struggled to contain extremist insurgency. In August 2020, Mali's president was overthrown in a coup that included President Assimi Goïta, then an army colonel. In 2021, Goïta was sworn in as president of a transitional government after carrying out his second coup in 9 months. Kamil Sadiq, CBA TV.
A wave of attacks on villages in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo attributed to Islamic State-affiliated IDF. Rebels killed at least 15 people on Sunday. This latest killing has come a week after a similar attack left more than 20 dead.
A local official, Diodone Malangai, said there were simultaneous attacks on Sunday between 4 and 5 a.m. on 3 villages. He said that in Manyala village they found 7 bodies, and at Ofei there were 8 dead, including 7 women. The ADF rebels also attacked Bandibese village that ran into resistance from soldiers who intervened, and so there were no civilian deaths. A humanitarian source also confirmed the 7 fatalities in Manyala and at least 8 in Ofei. ADF fighters were also blamed for last week's raids in the neighboring province of North Kivu, where at least 23 people died, while in the same province, at least 14 people were killed in a bomb blast at a Pentecostal church. Islamic State portrays the ADF, which has its roots in Rwanda, as its Central African incarnation. In an attempt to stem the violence, the government in May 2021 declared a state of alert in North Kivu and Ituri, replacing civil administrators with police and troops.
8 people were killed and 3 others injured during a mass shooting at a birthday in South Africa's Eastern Cape province. The incident follows a series of mass gun attacks last year that shocked South Africa.
South African police have launched a manhunt after 2 unidentified gunmen killed 8 people and wounded 3 others at a birthday party in South Africa's Eastern Cape province. According to the South African police, the unidentified gunmen randomly shot at guests who were dancing and mingling at a house party in KwaZulu Township. 5 men and 3 women aged 20 to 64 have been identified as victims. 2 of the injured people are still in hospital. The 3rd wounded person has been discharged. The Eastern Cape Police Commissioner said, quote, "These victims were killed by criminals and we will not rest until we find out what happened and who was responsible for this callous and cold-blooded attack on these unsuspected victims," end quote. Police Minister Becky Cele has since called for patience while investigation gets underway. Officers have given no motive for the violent action of the armed men. The incident follows a series of mass gun attacks last year that shocked the Southern African nation. In July 2022, armed men killed 19 people in random shootings within hours of each other. Gun Free South Africa, an anti-gun campaign group, said there are about 3 million guns registered in the country, while several others are left unregistered. Kamil Sadiq, CBA TV.
And with that story of 8 people were killed and 3 others injured during a mass shooting at a birthday in South Africa's Eastern Cape province, we'll wrap up our program for this time. Thank you very much for being with us. This is me, Hamse Daabjeerin.